about to talk about Brat by Charli XCX, the OG album and the era as a whole, as well as the 3 songs on the extra version of the album that is Brat. So it's the same, but it's not, because there's 3 extra songs. Hey YouTube, ValleyGirl5678 here, and it's time for another album review. Today we are going to be talking about, of course, Brat by Charli XCX. This is the 6th full-length LP from British hyper-pop girly icon Charli XCX, following 2022's Crash, which showed her experimenting with pop motifs and stylings outside of the hyper-pop sphere that she had been fairly solid in for her last 3 projects. Here with Brat, she has reconnected a bit more with that sound, but more than anything as a sort of through line to a late 2000s, early 2010s differential production and just general songwriting stylings. And it is the perfect natural progression for an artist like Charli, especially when you consider her last 2 LPs. I'm Feeling Now was like the hyperpop album, and then Crash obviously kind of like stripped down a lot of the hyperpop stylings and was a lot more just like straight pop forward with a lot of like 80s pop inspiration. But even though the overall sonic vibes of this project are rooted in nostalgia, the outcome itself is more of these late 2000s, early 2010s motifs translated for the modern age. And it is frankly some never been done before shit. Like, I think a lot of people have, you know, certainly tried to do this, but I don't think anyone has been as successful as this is. I think a lot of people expected this album to be a bit more hyper pop leaning, but like Charli was a trailblazer in that sound back in like 2016 through 2020. And as she says in 360, she just is a trendsetter as an artist that didn't stop once hyper pop was more mainstream. And in fact, in many ways, I think it would be almost stagnant and regressive of her to go back to a strictly hyper pop sound after kind of exploring things outside of that with Crash. And she's not that kind of artist. She will constantly be ahead, as she says. AKA, she is still trailblazing the fuck out of pop music even past hyperpop. And it's bigger than just the music itself. This album is just a part of an iconic pop girly era that is frankly a cultural reset. The aesthetics of this era, starting with the Von Dutch single cover to the music videos, her outfits this era, her ways of speaking and connecting with her fans, the fourth wall breaking that is this album and era in so many ways, the conversational lyricism of the project. This album and era is an instant classic in ways that I don't think I've seen a project be in a long time, probably since Folklore, to be honest, in my opinion. I do think Lana touched on this a bit with Did You Know That There's a Tunnel Under Ocean Boulevard, but overall, this is the postmodern pop girly era, and it is absolutely fucking everything. Like, it is a great time to be a gay person. But of course, this is all rooted in the music itself. And there is not a single skip on this album, so I'm going to talk about it in order, especially since the track listing on this thing is some of the best track listing I've seen in a while. Like, Fantano said actually that like every song on this album is embellished and heightened by the songs around it. Starting with the opening track, 360. Iconic. It's the Brat track. Perfect single, perfect opener, perfect music video. The synth, which is the like main like instrumentation of the song, is like the sound of 2024 for gay people at least. And I love that 360 and then 365, the closer, act as bookends for the album, and 365 is literally a remix of 360. It's genius. Club classics, another fire single, incredible production, especially the outro. Right now, right now, right now, right now, me. Track 3, Sympathy as a Knife, is probably one of my favorite non-singles on the album. The production and songwriting is top tier Charli, and the production and just the song as a whole really like sonically gives the anxiety that she is talking about. And this idea of sympathy being a knife is so poignant and true. Like, yeah, sometimes you need sympathy, but like sometimes that sympathy can still feel terrible because it's not empathy. I Might Say Something Stupid is a soft, simple, very self-reflective, vulnerable, and honest track. It's a really nice sonic break on the album, and even though it is softer, it is still very sonically cohesive with the songs around it. The next track, Talk Talk, is the most straightforward pop track on the album. I love the outro. It's not my favorite track on the album, but like it's definitely not a skip. It is incredibly catchy. Von Dutch is an iconic lead single, one of the best lead singles that has existed in a while. The chorus production It just slays every time. Speaking of favorite non-singles, the next track, Everything Is Romantic. The violin at the beginning, she comes in spitting and then the beat comes in. Oh my god. I actually saw her at Primavera and she did this one live. So this was like before Brat had come out, and I remember just being like absolutely gagged when that beat came in. It's honestly such a poetic song on top of that insanely sharp cutting beat, and just the production in general is just incredible. Rewind, I love her delivery, I love the nostalgia, and some production effects on this track kind of remind me of some of her older music, which is cool since she's talking about like going back in time. So I is an emotionally brutal track about Sophie. It's probably her most vulnerable and honest song she's ever written, and I just think it's really important. It's honestly very relatable, I think, for a lot of people, and a lot of the production stylings remind me of Sophie's music, and yeah, I just think it's a beautiful tribute that is much deeper than just like surface level. You were so great. She's being really honest and truthful here about what grief is actually like, and I just like really fucking respect that. Girl, so confusing. Like again with the slay honesty, let's go. I love like how the word girl becomes almost a play on words, because she's like girl, like she's saying like girl, and she's also like girl. It's so confusing. And she's like, how do you feel being a girl? I just think it's so good. I think it's obviously about Lorde, but it's not a diss track. Lorde has obviously been very like supportive of this era, so yeah, I just think it's a really important song, honestly, and it's a banger. Apple, Charlie said on Lost Cultures that this song is about her relationship with her parents. It's a really interestingly written song, really like fresh production. I just have never really heard anything like this before. The line where she's like talking about wanting to drive to the airport, like the Von Dutch music video takes place at an airport, so that little connect is cool. And the production feels like visceral representation of just like frustration. B2B is a straightforward dance cut, and then the play on words with like back to back, back to you. Like as far as timeline goes, it does seem like her and George kind of started dating like pretty soon after her and her ex-boyfriend broke up. Perhaps Every Rule is about George, so she's saying like, I don't want to go back to back, like I don't want to go back to back with these two boys, but then at the same time she's like, I don't want to go back to you, like, so all there is to move forward. I think that's really genius writing. Mean Girls, she paints the picture I love. Think you already know her, but you don't. Like, oh, you're thinking of someone you know in your head that is like this, but you don't actually know her. The piano break, you can actually hear that piano a little bit earlier before the break comes in, and I think it's a really genius way of kind of like subconsciously getting the listener used to having piano in the track before they're actually conscious of the piano being there. It's just a great instrumental moment that works so well with the other aspects of the song, which are very electronic, kind of like the violin and Everything Is Romantic. I think about it all the time. It's similar to I Might Say Something Stupid. It is a different track for Charlie sonically and thematically, yet it still very much works, acts as a nice little break between all of the slay, and is another one of her most vulnerable songs to date. And then 365, as I mentioned, is this like genius 360 remix as the closer. It's called 365. It's just, it does everything. It seals the album off perfectly. And then the 3 deluxe tracks are awesome too. Hello Goodbye, I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around what it exactly means, but it is like a classic club track, and it's a slay track. Guess is iconic, period, slay. And then similarly to Club Classic and 360 when she shouts out AG. Dare produced this track. I love that she puts that in the lyrics. And then Spring Breakers, she has obviously posted a lot of little snippets of this song. Been waiting for this. Whenever there's those little breaks where it's like a little it's actually a sample of Every Time by Britney Spears, which is the iconic song used in the like slow-mo scene of Spring Breakers. That's probably its most like iconic scene, so obsessed with that. Vroom 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 in the big pink truck. Let's go self-reference. So yeah, I don't really know what else I can say about this album, this era. It's everything to me. I will be wrapping my head around the genius of it for months. I will be surprised if anything honestly tops this for me for album of the year, but there there are 6 months left to go. I'm so overwhelmed, honestly. Like this is a pop girly year. Good year to be gay for sure. But yeah, so I'm gonna give this album a 10. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Spotify, and TikTok, all linked below. Make sure to keep up with my Song of the Week series that is on YouTube Shorts. Comes out every Saturday. And yeah, I will see you in my next video. Hello, goodbye.